Unfortunately, everybody have to say this, but I see it every day of the week. Unfortunately, I hear about it every day of the week, and unfortunately, this is probably right. That every 10 minutes somebody's being abused in this country, and there's reports made to Gardaí. They say there's over 1,000 nearly a week, and that's an insane amount for such a small country like Ireland. And if you put that in perspective, it could be nearly 100,000 a year. God knows how much it could be, but it's an awful lot, and it is an awful lot. And of course, it happens on both sides. I'm not going to say it's just one side, but particularly to women, it does happen a lot to women, the husbands and the boyfriends, etc. Mainly, a lot of my experience and what I've seen over the years is to do with money. It's the main cause is money, financial difficulties, in securing a house, securing a place to rent, etc. That's usually what starts a lot of the arguments and starts a lot of the domestic abuse. The other thing is a lot of people think they're cheating their partners, their boyfriend or girlfriend is cheating on them, and that's what causes a lot of domestic violence too, because they're suspicious of their partner, they're not thinking their partner's faithful to them. And the other thing is too, particularly for men, a lot of men, it's still this attitude I suppose from years ago, that a lot of men particularly, it is the case in some women too, that they take the control of their partner, they think they can basically tell their partner what to do and when to do it and how to do it. Pretty much like the government does, but it does happen. Unfortunately, there's been an incident in Carlow. Just speaking, but just because it doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. There was a man just totally in love with this woman. He thought she would do anything for this woman, and for years he put up with abuse because she used to take his money after he come home from work, etc. Like control how much he got money, like his money that he worked for. She used to take his money off him and control what he did and when he did it. And anytime he raised objection, she was like, "Oh, I'm going to leave you and leave you on your own." And that's coercive control. You might not take that, but it is coercive control. It's considered domestic violence too, because you're basically controlling the person. You're basically making them slaves, if that makes any sense. Um, and I say to people, don't put up if you are in that situation, any of these situations, the mess if you're getting hit or abused at the house. Of course, there'll be arguments. There's always going to be an argument in a relationship. It's the same with your friends. You're always going to have an argument over something at some point. But of course, a lot of it's physical. Unfortunately, a lot of it is physical. People being hit, people being attacked. And unfortunately, it shouldn't happen in the modern world, particularly to women. And it's a sad thing to see. And I've heard many instances over the years, I'm sure we all have, of people that were being abused and were killed, unfortunately, by their partners, etc. It's happened too often, unfortunately, in this country. Now, a lot of it is Irish people, I will say that. It's not just foreigners. A lot of people do say it's foreigners, and to a certain extent it is in some cases, but not in all cases. It's the majority Irish too that are doing this. But in some cultures, as I say, uh, they want to control their wives, particularly when it comes to men and stuff like that. It does happen. It's not a lie. It does happen. In Ireland, it does happen, of course, but it's mainly a lot of men. And particularly, I hate to make excuses around. I'm not making excuses or anything for this actions or stuff, but it's usually a lot of people who were abused in their childhood. Like there was one case of a man that used to abuse his wife, and his father used to be terrible on him. Like he used to be very, very harsh and used to hit him like badly, very, very badly. And I suppose that in the trauma, it's hard to describe, but it is something like that. And I suppose he was taking it out on the wife. That's what. But she was lucky to get away from it. He done some serious damage to her. He really, really did do some serious damage. But I'm glad he's away. He's dead now, thankfully. But the damage was done, I suppose, to that woman. She's still alive, but she's quite badly. You should never be the same again. Basically, what I'm trying to say, mentally or physically, it's quite a bad situation. But the signs were there, I suppose, that when he was being abused by his father when he was younger, terribly abused, as I say, sexually abused in some cases too. It's awful, and it does have an effect on somebody's mind, and especially when they don't see treatment, etc. It can destroy a person. It really can destroy somebody's mind, and they do unfortunately take it out on their loved ones more than anything else, and that's a pretty sad thing, but it is the truth. But I do think we need a greater awareness in society, because unfortunately a lot of people, when this happens to them, they're like, oh, it's a woods off, it's blow over eventually. They eventually will not do it, but unfortunately it just keeps happening, unfortunately. And I say to people, if you're in that situation, do try and get out of it. I know it's easy to say, but do try and get out of it, because you're better than this, and you deserve better. And I say this to every person out there, every woman or every man, if you're going through this, you deserve better. You deserve 100% better. If somebody doesn't appreciate you for who you are, and doesn't love you, and uses violence or threats to intimidate you or to keep you there, etc., it's not great, and that's not love, that's abuse. That's just to put it straight. But as I say, always try and do work out your differences, but there's certain cases where you have to just walk away, and that's just the sad reality, but it's the truth. It's the best option in some cases, but there's always plenty more fish in the sea, and I say that to people, genuine. But yeah, as I say to people, do reach out if you ever need support and stuff. Please do, because the first step is looking for help, and it's a tough thing to do, but it's something that's necessary. But anyway, please let me know what you think. Have you ever experienced this? I know some people wouldn't want to talk about it, but it's important to talk about these things too, because unfortunately it's not talked about enough, and I think that's the main thing too, to get across, that it's something that we don't see. We could go out for a walk now. I could walk down the street, and we don't know what's happening in the four walls of the houses we go by. And that's just a simple thing. Anyway, let me know what you think. Bye.